Okay, we should be in desktop right now. I see that we are. So let's just go ahead and go to the presentation and let's get started. Here's what's going to happen. Here's what you're going to learn at the end of this 1 hour class. This is going to give you some basics of HTML. In other words, you're going to have a pretty good idea of what it is and how it works. You're going to learn about FTP. You're also going to learn a little bit about website management. Now, these are three pretty big classes. And so the thing about that is that by that, what I mean by that is there are three big ideas here, and I'm going to squeeze them into 60 minutes. So you're not going to become a webmaster in 60 minutes. What you are going to get out of this class is that you're going to get an idea of what these things mean, what these acronyms mean, and how they function in the real world. Before we get started, I want to go through why we give these conferences. Why am I here? Why am I giving up an hour of my time on a Saturday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time? And at the same time, why are you here giving up your time on a day that we all normally spend with our families? And one of the things about this online event center that I think is really cool is that anyone from around the world can be here. It doesn't matter where you are. You could be in China. You can get here. You could be anywhere in the United States and you can get here, and you're attending from the comfort of your own home. In other words, you didn't have to drive anywhere. You didn't have to put your tie on. I've got a nice tie on because I want to have a business appearance. But you could be there, in any shape or form, if you gather my meaning. And so it's comfortable for you. In other words, you're in a comfortable environment and you're able to just kind of, lean back and enjoy the conference and take notes as you need to. These conferences also are going to help to build a knowledge base of the services, of my sites. I have two sites that do need some explanation, and this topic does need some explanation. And so you're going to build a knowledge base of things that are pertinent to the things that you're doing every day, or you're not going to be here. You wouldn't be here if this wasn't of interest to you. And also, after you learn something, you feel a little bit more confident about it. You feel a little bit more, you're better at it now. You can, with confidence now, you can go and start, doing a little bit of HTML. You can get in your WYSIWYG editor and feel a little bit better about what you're doing, a little bit more confident, what you're going to actually be able to accomplish and how to go through the steps to get your website going. And so that's what I want to accomplish out of this class. And these classes are also a very powerful promotion tool. Here's why. Because most of the people that are here are either administrators or people who are out there trying to build a business. And why not bring people that you're working with to a class like this so that it'll help them to understand the things that you understand? There's no way in the world that you'd be able to explain all of this to someone in your downline. And yet, it might be a benefit to them and to you, because now they'll start working. Now they'll start promoting their site. Now they'll start doing a little bit more, and they're in your organization, which means you're going to have a little bit more benefit from that process. And you didn't do anything other than just bring them to a class. They learned a little bit more. They got a little bit more excited. And now they're doing a little bit more. And anyone can recommend a class to attend. You see that all the time in KEH. Jonathan is constantly recommending Rob's class. And you see it in many of the other groups as well. And it's not hard. You can do it. And if it's going to help you to build your business, why wouldn't you do it? And the opposite is also true. Anyone can attend a class to learn. Anyone can sit here and do nothing, take some notes, and get a little bit more knowledge. It doesn't take any extra talent, any extra knowledge to be able to do that. And as you do that, and as you refer people to a class like this, your organization is actually going to build as you bring guests. And it's very duplicatable. How hard is it to bring someone to a class? How hard is it to attend a class like this? You clicked on a link. It wasn't really all that hard. So that's why I do this. And it's a very exciting process. I think it is, because it brings people that are like-minded into a single area where we can all learn, where we can all benefit, and where we can all grow. That's what we all want, right? We all want to grow and we all want exposure. That's what we're all about. And what you can expect from this class, this particular class, is structured for HTML FTP. We're also going to give you some ideas about website management. You're going to know the value of your own site. By that I'm talking financially. In other words, what monies you're going to have to spend. Some basics of HTML, some FTP, and what to do. And we'll get into some technical things. But like I said in the beginning, this is pretty much, I'm going to be talking from a beginner's standpoint. So it isn't going to be too heady, nothing heavy. Like I said initially, this class is going to take about an hour. So the first question that you might be asking yourself, well, do I really need my own site? Do I? Do I have to? I mean, there's a lot of affiliate sites out there that I can just resell. Do I have to have my own site? It sounds like a lot of work. And you know what? It is. It's a lot of work. But here are some benefits from having your own site. And ultimately, you're the one that's going to be the judge. No one's going to make that decision for you. You have to make that decision yourself if this is something you want to do. And that's another reason for this class. And one of the benefits is that you have the ultimate control. You're the boss. You own it. You call the shots. You brand your own name, your company. You make changes when you want. You don't have to ask the administrator of some affiliate program that you're associated with if they can make some change, because you own it. It's your site. You can put up a banner. You can put up 20,000 banners if you want to. I don't recommend that. I recommend only one, actually, or two. You can put in a little search box if you want to. Lots of different ways to do that. You don't have to be a genius even to do that. And think about this. How many of us here have been in this room, have been on the internet as an online marketer for more than a year or two? Come on, raise your hands. Think about it. Raise your hands in your mind. Now, how many affiliate sites have you seen gone down, dead, no longer existing, in the last 2 years? I would say a lot, a real lot. They go up and down all the time. So if the affiliate site that you've been promoting goes down and all your nickels are in there, what happened? You see my point? You just went down with them. And your entire downline too. But if you have your own site, you're branding yourself, maybe on a site or on a blog or however you want to do it. Again, the ultimate decision on that, how you want to do that, is up to you. You can even have your own name, And another cool thing about that, when it's your site, you're the one that's paying for the hosting, and hosting company will either, they'll provide you with, X amount of email boxes, one or two, or, as some of them go into unlimited. Okay, so the first thing that you might be asking yourself, you may have made the decision, okay, well, this sounds like something that maybe I do need to do. But, how much money is involved? And that's one of the biggest, issues is money. And there are other issues too, of course. But this is one of the big ones. And if you're just starting out, if you just have maybe a blog or a little site like that, and you're promoting it on the exchanges, and it's not really intense like an exchange or like where you own a traffic exchange, then you don't need a dedicated server. You don't need to be spending even 3 digits a month. But the basic costs for a website are not just the hosting. You also have domain registration. And I'm going to talk about domain registration and how it works and what it's all about later on in the presentation. Right now, I just want to talk about the cost. If you register a domain, the average cost is about $10 a year. But you can get .info domains, and you can get other domains, like a .tv, I think is ranging between $40 and $60 a year. So that's the cost that you're looking at for the domain. In other words, the www.yourdomain.com, whatever that is. The website, the hosting, is a totally different company. That isn't always true, but a lot of the times it is. Your hosting is the company or the service that's actually hosting your website. I've seen websites for even less than $5.95 a month. But here's another thing about the whole hosting thing. Don't chintz out on this. Don't cheap out on this. Get something that's going to be pertinent for what you're doing. If you're not doing a whole lot, find something cheap and just do that. Get experience with the cheap, and then when you decide you want to do something a little bit more, then you can do a little bit more investigation and see what else you have to have in order to have a hosting plan that's going to fit the website that you're working with. Just as a simple example, if you own and operate a traffic exchange, you're going to want to get something more than a simple little hosting account. Personally, I use Rackspace. I do not have a dedicated server. I'm on their cloud sites, but I only pay $100 a month. I can have as many domains as I want. There are a lot of other hosting companies out there, such as Pro Affiliate Vault, that we recommend as well. The other thing about the costs, not always money, also time. You have time costs, because guess what? You're going to be entering into a little bit of a learning curve. And again, that's what this class is going to help you to do, to understand what that learning curve is and if you actually really want to do it. If this is something you really actually want to do, then you need to get a book. You don't might need to get one. You need to get a book. Go out and buy an HTML book. You'll spend anywhere from $10 to $80. I spent $60 for my first book. I still have it. And then you also have a lot of online stuff. There's a lot more online stuff than there was when I first started being a webmaster, let me tell you. If you look at that link down there, if you copy and paste it or have some way of writing it down, you'll definitely want to use them as a resource. They are awesome. They have the whole world of HTML right there, and you'll learn all you need to know. So what is HTML and FTP anyway? Well, here's one thing I want to share with you about HTML. HTML is a markup language. That's all it is. It's a markup language. It's not a programming language. PHP is a programming language, totally different. HTML is a markup language, much simpler. And it's an acronym. That HTML is an acronym, Hypertext Markup Language. That's what HTML means. Now, when your browser hits a page, that page has plain text on it called HTML. When the browser hits that page, it actually is compiling the HTML right there on the spot to readable text or readable content and images. So that when you hit the page, your browser brings it up, it's compiled it, and it's taken that text HTML. And I'm going to show you some HTML later, so you'll have a better understanding of what that really means later on in the class. But just keep that in the back of your mind, that when you're using your browser and you're hitting a page, it's actually compiling the text HTML to a readable content and the images that are being displayed there. And in fact, that's what HTML is for. It's primarily used to control text and images. It doesn't do anything. Well, you can do some things with it. By do anything, I mean action stuff. Programming does action stuff. HTML does placement stuff. You can do things with it. I'm not saying it's dead. But for the most part, that's what you use HTML for. That's all I use it for. It's just to place the content and to deal with the imagery. And in fact, if you go to make1c.com and look at it, if you bring it up for the very first time, what comes up right away? The little form at the bottom. The reason why is because that's the only HTML on that page. The rest of it is all images. Now, FTP, what that is File Transfer Protocol for your HTML files. Remember, your HTML files are text files. You create those text files on your local computer. Then you have to have a way of getting those files to your website. That's what you're doing with FTP, is you're using that file transfer protocol to take the HTML file that you've created on your local computer and transfer it over to your website. With time, we're going to talk a little bit about this later, and I'll try and show you what I use. In fact, why don't I do that now instead of doing it later? Because I use FileZilla. It's real simple, and here's essentially how it works. This is FileZilla. Now, I know I just brought it up on you, and you're seeing a lot of windows. But basically, the way it works is you take the files. These are the files on my local computer here. These are the files for the site that I'm managing, or that I'm looking to upload the files to. So, as a simple example, if I had made a change on this file, then I would just double-click it. It logs in for me. I click on the OK, and it uploaded that file. And after you've made a change on the file, well, you have to have a way of uploading it. And that's how you do it with a product like FileZilla. If you don't have FileZilla, I highly recommend it. It's free, it's easy. You can just Google it if you want to and find it that way. So, as I explained to you already, FTP is how you transfer those HTML files that you create on your local computer, your local pages. Now, this is recommended. It isn't mandatory. It's just a good way to do it. To have a working folder. In other words, a folder that you have your live files that you're working with, and then your working backup folders that you do at the end of the day, and you back up all the files that you worked on from your site to your working backup, or all the files that you worked on if you want to do it that way. And there is a way to set up FTP to do that. Now, in the beginning, because you don't know anything, and all you know is that you have to have a way of editing files, guess what? HTML, what have I said about it so far? Many, many times. It's text. T-E-X-T. That's all it is. So you can use Notepad. You don't need a fancy editor to start out with. You really don't. In fact, I recommend that you don't get one right away if you're a beginner. If you're a beginner, use Notepad, figure it out that way, and then a week or two later, go out to Google and get yourself an editor. I use Dreamweaver. Dreamweaver's kind of on the expensive side, so when you get serious, you're going to want to get a product like that. You're going to want to pay for it. But until you get serious, just satisfy yourself with Notepad. Don't forget, absolutely get a book on HTML for reference if this is something that you think you're going to want to do. You're going to want to have it. I have it. I have 13 years of experience, and guess what? I still find myself in that book looking up a tag I forgot. And that's the thing. HTML uses tags. That's how it works. It's comprised of what are called tags. Almost all tags have a beginning and an end. And I know you don't know what I mean yet, but I'm going to show you in a second. Here's what I mean. The paragraph tag right here, which is a less than and a greater than with a P in the middle of it. That P can be upper or lowercase. It doesn't matter. That's a paragraph tab, and that'll format a row space from the beginning. In other words, it's going to create a row space right there, and then your text is going to display between after the tag, and then this is going to close the tag. This /P formats a row space at the end so that you have a clean paragraph with a carriage return above it and a carriage return below it. That's what the paragraph tag does. See how easy this is? So in Notepad, if you wanted to say hello world in a paragraph, all you'd have to do is put in a bracket, P bracket, hello world, bracket /P, bracket, save the file, upload it to your site, call it up from your browser, and you'll see in your browser, hello world. Wasn't that exciting? That's how easy it is. It's just a markup language. That's all it is, folks. It's not programming. It's just a matter of formatting the text and the images, and there are different tags that you use for those different purposes. And now the P begins the tag, and the /P is the end of that tag. Now, 98% of the time that's going to be true. But like for an input tag, that's not true. There is no input and then /input. An input tag is just an input tag. That's a field tag where you see to put in your name and email on those forms. That's what an input tag is. Now also, tags have commands that you can execute within them. We're getting a little complicated now, but it's not that bad. Let's look at the next example. We have the P tag, and we want to align the text to the right. We don't want it to align from the left. We want it to align from the right. We're doing something different. And we end the P tag with that /, just like I taught you. And if you were to do that same example with the Notepad example that I gave you before and upload the page, then your text would be on the right. Isn't that exciting? Are you excited yet? I am. Now, we're going to get a little bit more. I'm going to take it a little further. Don't try to memorize this. I can't memorize it, so don't you try. What I'm trying to do here, though, is to give you some structure. And you can come back to this because I have a link that'll take you to this presentation. So you can always come back to this page and look at it to help you to understand the structure of an HTML page, because there is a structure to it. It has a beginning. Remember, the tags always have a beginning and an end. And your document structure tag starts with HTML. That's the first tag. And guess what? At the very end of your document, there's going to be a bracket /HTML ending the document. and in between a whole lot of stuff, fun stuff. And you can have you'll have a head tag. Style tags are used to change the format of your content. Title tag is what you see in the upper portion of your browser. If you look at the upper portion of your browser on any site, you'll see that it has a message up there, and that message comes from your title tag. Then you have formatting tags. These tags are what actually format the content that you're doing. And I'm just going to give you a couple examples. I'm not going to go through the whole litany here. We'd be here for hours. But you're formatting tags like a strong, the second line down, strong. Strong is a bolding process. It has a strong beginning and then a slash strong at the end. Where you see here, the B, that is what used to be bold. No, it looks a lot easier. And I got to tell you, I don't know why they changed it, but they did. And so now to bold, it's strong and slash strong. U is underlined. So if you want a particular piece of text underlined, then you'd put that text in between a U and a bracket slash U, and then that'll underline the text. You also have list tags. Now list tags, you've seen them a gazillion billion times. You know those dots? You ever seen the dots where they're coming in a little bit? They're kind of, indented in, and you see a dot, and they're there to highlight certain aspects of this particular whiz-bang thing. Well, that's how you do it with the list tag. And those dots are an unordered list. That's what UL stands for. Unordered list. If you want numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, ordered, if you want an ordered list, then you have this, bracket OL, and then the content for the list is going to start with bracket LI, and then you end it with bracket slash LI. So you would have like a bracket OL, all your LIs, and then a bracket slash OL at the end to end your ordered list. Hyperlink tag is just a bracket A with a lot of demands. A hyperlink tag is a tag that you would create so that when someone clicks on it, it'll take them to another page. Image tags are a way of bringing up images inside of your HTML page. Table tags are another way of further formatting how things appear. And we're going to actually talk about that a little bit later. And I'm actually hoping that you might actually understand it even if you're a beginner at the end of the class, which is really exciting because tables is not an easy thing to understand. You also have all your form tags. When you see those slots and they're looking for your name and your email, that's a form. And that form has a structure to it, and it starts with a form, and it ends with a bracket slash form with lots of goodies in between. Then you have frame tags. I'm sure that there have been many times when you've been on a website and you clicked on the left and on the right it just moved. The whole site didn't flicker. In other words, it didn't bring up a brand new page. It just moved that one portion of the page. That's a frame. If I have enough time, I'll go into it, but I had initially thought this was a long presentation and frames are complicated. So I'm thinking I'm going to pass them by. But let's talk about the HTML page to begin with. This is a very simple way to set up an HTML page. You could actually copy and paste this and use it. And I'm going to explain to you what everything is, except for the top thing. That's just there. Don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it. It's there. Just put it there. HTML is the actual beginning of the tag. In other words, this is the beginning of our HTML document, and this is what starts it by putting bracket HTML. You also have the head tag, which is ended here, that has a title tag, and also can have meta tags and other things in between it. Script tags, this is where a lot of scripts are called up, is within the head tags. Now, within the head tag, I briefly described the title to you before. This is your document title. In other words, this is what you want people to see when they come to the page. Welcome to the virtual. Make one see Live Center. Hosting welcome. Make one see Account Manager. Those are all title tags. That's what those are. That's where they come from in your HTML page as you're creating it. And again, you can have meta, you can have script, you can even have style tags. You can have style tags just about anywhere, actually. But it's not really a tag. It's usually a style is within a tag. Then we have the end of our head here. And then after the head, we have the body. Now, the body is exactly what it says. This is the body of your page. This is what's going to basically be what your page looks like. It's that simple. This is where you put all your content. This is where you put all your images. This is where you structure your website is within the body. And then, of course, the body, like most tags, has an end, and so does your HTML. So now that you have a little bit of knowledge about some tags, let's take a look at the banner form code from an HTML standpoint. Let's dissect it so that you can learn exactly what you're looking at here, so that the next time you see this, you'll have a better understanding of what you're looking at. A banner form code is what it is what you're doing is you're displaying an image, and when someone clicks on that image, it's going to take them where you want to go. Here's how all that works. First part is the A. Remember I told you that's the hyperlink tag. When you're setting up a link, it's always href, href, equals, and then the actual link that you want them to go to. Boy, this is really hard, isn't it? And then you end the tag right there. You can. There are other things you can put in there. If you want it to open up in a new window, you can set something for that. And there are other things you can do, but let's keep it simple. Now, that tag is started right here. This is not the end of the tag. This is just the end of the bracket for this tag assignment. Down here, we've got an image tag. That's what the IMG is. This is the source of the image. In other words, this is the actual location of where that image is. So now, this is all under an href tag. The href tag, or the A tag, is the hyperlink tag, so we've got to end it. This is where it ends, right here, bracket /A. So there are two tags here. You got your A tag and you've got your image tag. And the image tag is in between the A tag, or your href tag, because that's what's going to control what gets clicked on. If you wanted to put content instead of imaging, then all you would do is just key in whatever content, in other words, text. Click here to go there. So you'd key in, click here to go there, and then upload it to your page. Next time you saw that page, you'd see that link. You click here to go there, you're going to go there. Now this banner, as I told you, when you click on it, this is the page that's going to come up. This is what we're doing with the banners. We're promoting the page. We're promoting the website with the banner, and guess what? Banners still work. We're going to go right to the body, and what I want to do with this presentation or this screen is I want to share with you how to write a simple page. That's essentially what I want to cover here. So what we're going to talk about mostly is the body tag. But again, let's just start from the beginning like we've been doing. At the top, you've got your HTML tag. You've got your head tag. We're rocking the house is the title. We don't have any meta tags. Trying to keep it simple. We've closed the head tag. We've opened the body tag. This here is a comment. What's a comment? A comment is a way of putting in something that the browser will ignore. That way you can put in a little note for yourself to help you to understand what you did 6 months later. Believe you me, you'll want that note in there. Don't be lazy. 6 months later, you'll look at this and you'll say, what the heck was I doing? So sometimes, especially when you're programming, it's good to make notes to yourself so that 6 months later you'll go, oh, okay, yeah, I understand. I see what I'm doing. And you can go ahead and make your change and not screw the whole thing up. Again, we have our paragraph tags. So we're going to see 3 paragraphs here. This paragraph's going to line to the right. This one's going to be in red bold. We're going to end our body tag and our HTML page. That come in. See how simple this is? Really not that hard. Now I know that wasn't a fancy website or anything, but it should give you an idea of what I've been trying to talk about with regards to managing your text and getting your text. Just knowing this right here, you could write a nice page. And having a good understanding of images. That's all you'd need. Image and content, that's really all you need. It's all about content and images, folks. Content and images, and now you even know how to make a link. Cool. You can display your banners now and get people to click on them and go to where you want them to go to on your site. All right, now here's one that's kind of tricky. Remember I told you I really think that I can get this across to you, so here we go. Let's see how if I can. This is a table tag. Now table tags are used as a way to better organize your content. You can make it so that it comes out exactly the way you want it to. Exactly, and I mean exactly, right down to where it lays. And you do that predominantly with tables. It's the best way to do it. Here's what we've established with the table. This is a table tag. It begins here, it ends here. Just like all tags, it has a beginning and an ending, and everything is in between. We want a border on it, because we want to be in a box style, and we want the color of that border to be black. This TR stands for table row. Now let this sink in, folks. Just let it sink in. Just accept it. I know these are kind of heady things a little bit, but it's not too bad. A table row means that this is the row. the whole row of the whole page. This is down here, this TD stands for table definition. So if you put in a TD and an ending TD here, this is the first cell. Let me show you the page. And it's going across. We could have made it go down too by doing a row with one TD in each row. But we did it with a whole row. See, this is the row right here. And this is a TD, that's the first cell. This is the second cell, this is the third cell. And the reason why you might want to do this is to better organize the content. You do have a way of spacing it. In other words, you can make spacing in between here wider and the spacing in between the padding of the cell larger so that you have more room around the content. In other words, there's more space around the content and it comes out a little bit more. This is really tight right here, but I just slapped it up. I just wanted to give you an idea of how a table actually manages content. So I'm going to go back to the example and I'm going to hope that I can get this across to you. Remember, the table row establishes the whole row across the entire page. A table definition establishes the content within that row. And if you want to have, like say you wanted to do columns, this is an excellent way to do columns. And then using like an unordered list in columns. That's what you would use this for, so that your columns, and you don't have to have a border. You can make it come out so that there's no border, and yet those columns are really cool. In other words, they're precisely defined. Everyone is consistent. They all look like the other, and it's uniform. And that's what a table gives you, is uniformity within the table definitions that are comprised within the entire table itself. If you want to look at this example again later on, you can always go to this URL and that page will be there. So now we've already covered a little bit about this. This might be a little redundant, but if you want to get a good FTP client for free that's easy to learn, I recommend FileZilla. It's very good. You can have multiple screens up at the same time. You can get a lot of work done quickly if you're using FTP. I highly recommend it. There's no cost to it. It's completely free. I don't even think they're asking for donations. I don't understand it, but it's a great FTP client. I use it every single day. So that's what I recommend. And the reason why you're getting it, and I'm going to reiterate that, is because you have, if you're managing your website on your own, you're not going to want to go through your control panel to upload files. It becomes grossly unproductive because you can only upload one file at a time, 2 files at a time, or up to 10. You have to key them in individually into a slot, or copy and paste them in individually. Whereas with a product like this, with FileZilla, there's none of that. You just highlight the files that you want to upload. It's that simple. And then right-click it and upload them, and they'll get uploaded. That's the point there. So FTP is a lot better than a control panel through your hosting company. Now the way you set up FTP, and that's what this slide is about. I'm going to go through it quickly because I'm starting to run out of time. But all hosting companies have a control panel that are a part of the deal. And inside of there, however it's structured, use your control panel to find where you set up your FTP. All FTP has a user and pass name, and you set that up within your website control panel. And you would set that up in your control panel, and then you would come out to your FTP client. I'm using FileZilla, and then you would set up your site based upon that input. The site itself will be FTP dot whatever your domain is, dot whatever your extension is. You don't have to put in a port. FileZilla knows what it is. You just set it up for normal. You put in your username, your password, and that's it. That's how easy FileZilla is. So that's why I like this product so much. So you got it set up, you use it, you find the folder that you're in like I showed you earlier, and that's how you actually upload the files. Now, you also have to set up a domain. You can have a domain account. It doesn't always have to be the same as the hosting account. Sometimes it is. I know Rackspace, they do offer that. But I had used another domain service prior to coming on board with Rackspace. So it's still in that service. And I also use GoDaddy. GoDaddy is great for domains, horrible for hosting. That's just my personal opinion. Sorry, GoDaddy. So What you want to do, though, you need to have a domain registrar, and the reason why is because the domain registrar is what actually points to where your website is. It's the pointer, and that pointer location for your FTP is either the IP or the FTP domain. So how do I edit my pages? How do you actually edit them? And we have talked about this briefly already. People use many different programs. If this is something that you're going to get serious about and you want to have the tag of webmaster and manage sites or do sites or do this as a living or whatever, you're going to want to have a serious editor to work with because after a while it gets to be pretty heady and it gets to be pretty complicated. I use Dreamweaver myself. This presentation was originally constructed a long time ago. I don't think HomeSite or Hotdog even exist. What you can do is you can go to Google and you can Google in a HTML editor and see what you can find. In the beginning, I really do highly recommend using Notepad. I know Notepad has no WYSIWYGs on it, but again, HTML is straight text, and keeping it simple, it'll help you to get a basic idea of what you're doing. Once you begin to have a better understanding and you want to get further along, go out and get a Dreamweaver, or go out and get an editor that you can afford. You absolutely have to buy a book on HTML. I'm going to say it again. You absolutely have to buy a book on HTML. Yeah, you got to spend some of your hard-earned money. You can spend anywhere from $10 to $80. I spent $60 my first time out. Use your Notepad for changes and then FTP the change like I'd shared with you before. In other words, you make all your changes in your editor. If that's Notepad, that's what you're using. Save the file, call up your FileZilla, find the file, upload it to your website. Then what you do is you come back into whatever browser you're using and test that file. You always test that file because guess what? You may have made a mistake. You may have keyed in the wrong thing into your content, and when you go back and check it in your browser, you'll see that mistake and you'll be able to come back to your Notepad and change it much more effectively. Whereas if you didn't, let's say that you didn't check it, you just assumed it was good, went back in, made another change, and now you're going to go look at it. But the first change screwed everything up. Hello. You always look at the page after even a single change. Now, in setting up a website or getting a hosting company, here are some key things that you want to keep in mind. And these are things that are golden. Golden, folks. Here's the thing about hosting companies. There are a lot of companies out there that don't have a phone number. What good is that to you if it's 3 o'clock in the morning and your website is down and you don't know why? If you're stuck with ticket support and you can't call them, if you can't find out why, then you're stuck, aren't you? You'll have to wait until they open up the store. That's not the way I work. I want to be able to call them. I don't care if it's 5 o'clock in the morning. I want to be able to call them if my website is down. My website is a serious website. I'm very serious about it. I'm not kidding around. And if it's down, I want to know why. And that's why, and that's what you want too. You want a hosting company that's going to be able to give you that kind of support. Once you've established a hosting company that you want to work with, the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to understand the control panel. You're going to want to know how to get around within that control panel and what to do. You may want to use your control panel for file management, but as I said earlier, FTP is much better. You'll also have database management. Now, I'm not going to explain to you all of that right now. That's beyond the scope of this class. That's when we start to get into programming. But there is database management, and once you're either a programmer yourself or you have a programmer that you're working with in conjunction with the site that you're building, you'll know what that is. Essentially, that's something that's behind the programming itself with the records, the actual real live records. Like as an example, when you put in your name in a field, and it actually saves that name on a record in a database. That's the simple example. Also, you want to have email management. Here's the thing about that. I know Gmail's real popular. I know Yahoo's real popular. I know all of those things are real popular. Everyone has one. But guess what? If you have your own domain, shouldn't you have your own email? Wouldn't that be more representative of you as a businessman or as a businesswoman? I think so. I use Make1C exclusively for my email because Make1C is my wonder child. It's my business. It's what I wake up and go to sleep with every single day. And I want people to know that. So I have my email structured around the business that I'm in. I'm not in the business of building up Gmail or Yahoo. I'm in the business of building up Make1C and the Make1C exchange. And so are you. And you're going to have web and POP3 email, and your control panel will usually provide you with stats. Here are some really excellent domain management tips. And domain management is so crucial, folks. When my very first domain, I lost the login information. I know, but to be fair, this was back in 1998, before Make1C. So, you can laugh. It's all right. I know I own a credential management system. It's funny, ha ha ha. But the thing is, that's what happened to me, and I couldn't get it. And it was a very confusing thing. It got really weird because I got the domain registrar mixed up with the hosting company, and I thought they were one and the same, and they're not. They're two separate entities. Two separate entities. Two separate functions. The domain registrar is the pointer. That is the thing that tells the entire internet world where your website is located. So it's an important part of your campaign, and by golly, you better be able to call them. Here he goes with the phone again. That's right. But what if your domain is down and it's not the hosting company? Or what if you want to make a change on your domain and you don't know how to do it? Make sure you can call them by phone. You can call GoDaddy by phone 24 hours a day. I do recommend them for domains. They are reasonable. They're not the cheapest in the world though anymore, but they are reasonable. They're very competitive, and they got a lot of tools. And also with the domain registrar, like the hosting company that I talked to you about before, you have a control panel that's provided for you to manage your domains, to set them to re-up. In other words, when the year is up, I want to buy this domain again. You have ways of doing that through your control panel, and you have other little things that you can do within your control panel for your domain registrar. In your domain registrar, remember, that's where all of the whois information is located, through the domain registrar. Here's exactly what I mean by what I just said. When you're logged into Make1C, far off to the right, one of them little blue icon buttons says whois. If you click on that, it'll give you the ability to key into a slot the domain name of any site in the world. If it's registered, you'll see all of the whois information. You'll see their company name, you'll see their telephone number, you'll see where they're located, you'll see their IP server location, you'll see the administration contact, you'll see their domain registrar, which is extremely important, and you'll see other information such as their address, the name of their company, their country location, and this is all very important information. You might be laughing the way I said it, but it is very important, because if you have, this is a simple example, if you have a domain that's spamming you, you have a way to get rid of them. You can go right to the whois, do a whois on that domain, get the email of the administrative contact, send them an email saying, if you don't stop, I'm going to go to your domain registrar and I'm going to complain. And guess what? Those emails, they'll stop almost like that. I'm telling you. I've done that many times. And here's the thing. You've learned a little bit about quite a many things. I hope that you have learned the things that I wanted to get across to you, that HTML is comprised of tags. It's a very simple markup language. It's not programming, and it's something that anybody can do if they really want to get at it. And HTML, most of the tags have a beginning and they have an ending tag. You use FTP for transferring files, so hopefully you've learned that. You may not have experienced it yet, so you don't have that, that confidence, but hopefully in your head you understand what I mean by what I just said. In the beginning, you're going to want to use Notepad for editing pages, and remember that website and domain management are separate entities. I didn't know that at the very beginning. You'd think I would, but I didn't. You might not either, but after this class, now you do. If you ever want to see this class again or this particular presentation, and I do make changes to it from time to time, just click on this link or go to this spot, this area here, startnet.com, and you'll get to it using HTML FTP.htm. Listen, I want to really thank you for coming. I appreciate that you took a little bit of your time out on a Saturday. You know, and this is the day that we normally spend with our families. I know that because I do. And I'm very appreciative of the time that you gave me. If you do have a question during the week, you can call us here at 619-934-5414, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Monday through Friday. Imagine that. I actually have a phone number that you can call. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and come back